Hey everybody, welcome back to the Carry and Cut YouTube channel. If you're new here, I sure do appreciate you stopping by and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment down below. Check out our Instagram at Carry and Cut and our Patreon at Carry and Cut. I really do appreciate all the new Patreons. It's awesome to see the support from you guys, and all the support from the Patreon are going to go directly back in the channel to buy new knives and new equipment to help make the quality and the content better for you guys. So we got the tools out. We're going to be doing a disassembly and maintenance video on this Kershaw bel-air, and before we get into it, I want to give a huge shout out to Stephen. He's the one that sent this knife over to us to take a look at and do a review on, and whatever we got to do to this thing to get it tip-top shape for him. So if you guys missed a full review of this thing, make sure you go back and watch that one. It was a pretty good one. Definitely am impressed with this knife, and I do really like it. And also, we're going to be checking out this OCD for EDC toolkit. This is going to be for your access locks is what they're for. This is for our benchmade knives, but of course, Durlock, whatever, it's going to be somewhat similar, I'm thinking. So hopefully we're going to be able to use these. This kind of get your pivot lined up for when you're using your trying to get your knife put back together. So let's go ahead and get right into it here. It shouldn't be too bad of a deal. We got T10 or T8 in the pivot. It might even be a T9. I do not have a T9, but it seems like it's going to fit just right in there. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. So we got T6s for the pocket clip, T6s for the body screws, and yeah, T8 for the pivot. So let's go ahead and get right in there. If you guys would like to check out any of the tools that I do have them linked in the description below. It's all up to you guys if you want to check them out. It does help the channel, but completely up to you. They are cheap, affordable, and pretty decent quality too for what you're getting. So always want to be careful of what you're doing here. Make sure you're taking the knife apart and keeping your screws somewhat in line to where they should go, because you never know, some of them might be a different length, and you definitely don't want to get anything mixed up. Okay, so let's keep on going right there. As you can see, one of the the body screws for this actually main backspacer is going to go through the pocket clip. So this is a left hand tip up carry, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and bust right into this thing. We're going to be doing the show side, I guess is going to be on this side. He runs, he's left-handed, so he's the, I don't want to call him the minority of the knife world. But I just want to make sure we get this back in the order of what he gave it to us in. So let's go ahead and pop the pivot out of here. Definitely a little tight. They definitely have some Locktite in this thing, that's for sure. Alright. Pop it right out of there. There's our one screw for the body screw. There's our pivot. Let's see if we can pop this blade off of here. Blade scale. Sometimes these can be a little more tricky, especially when they're first coming apart. We've got our little pry tool out here. Don't get too aggressive with anything. Just go ahead and try to pop it off there, and it acts like it wants to go. Really just like to take the liner off. There we go. They got a little bit of assembly grease going on right there. Let's go ahead and clean that up. Okay, so there's our one liner. Of course, we just have a little bit milled out for the actual Durlock itself, but no internal milling. This thing is very paper thin, and they are super high quality. Barely you can even feel the weight on it. Alright, so there's the inner workings of our Durlock. Looks pretty similar to any other Benchmade knife that I've ever looked at. So definitely pretty cool. As you're opening the blade, you can see the actual Durlock crossbar lock come back, and then it pops in, makes contact with the tang of the blade back there. And then of course when you're disengaging, it is going to let the tension right off of that. And then there you go, locks back into place. So go ahead and run that one more time for you guys. Definitely pretty cool. Alright, now let's go ahead and take this side apart. Let's go leave our hardware up here at the top for this side. This is going to be our show side with the captive pivot on there. This thing's spinning in there. There we go. And these looks like they're all going to be the same size screws and fasteners. So that is definitely nice. So we can pop this pivot out of here. It might be a little stuck in there. That's the only problem sometimes with all the Loctite that they use. It's going to be somewhat kind of a bear. Let's go ahead and pop this Omega spring off here. I'm not sure if they're actually calling these Omega springs in all these different companies or not, but it's just a lot easier for me to keep track of them. There we go. And they just slide right off the crossbar, just like any other Omega spring. They look pretty much identical to Benchmade's. So maybe we can get a even smaller driver and try to push this thing through. Use our T5. There it went. Yes, no, maybe so. It started to. There it went. Okay, perfect. So this is, it actually is not D-shaped. It just rides right in there. So we'll see how that works when we go back, put this thing back together. All right. So we have a bearing, row of bearings with a actual steel, looks like a steel washer. So that is definitely interesting. I have not seen that one before. So we are going steel washer towards the liner, and then our bearing is going to be on the actual blade itself. So definitely pretty cool. Interesting to see that. It's going to be a little more tricky to put back together. What in the world? We got a third one in there too? Was there a third one over here? That's going to be pretty interesting to put back together. So that'll be exciting to see, to say the least. Alright, let's go ahead and try to get this part off here. You really need to try to get this other scale off here. There we go. There's our other scale. See if we can get this actual Omega spring popped off this one. Just like so. Okay, there's that one. And our crossbar comes right on out. We have a stop pin up there, and we got 2 barrel spacers. So, pow, just like that. Super simple. Alright guys, sorry about that. I'm back. Let's go ahead and get this thing, try to stab it together here. So we got all of our washers and all that sorts of good nonsense going on here. Sorry, I had to do a little intermission, and I just went ahead and restarted. So let's go ahead and knock this one out of there. This thing is definitely getting the best of me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It'd be nice if every one of them just went ahead and worked like they're supposed to. There's 2 sets of steel washers, then bearings sandwiched between each other. So let's just go ahead and leave those 2 in there. And so like I said, I've already taken this apart once, cleaned it twice, and we're going to go ahead and get started on it one more time. Hopefully the 3rd time is the charm. So we are going to go ahead and get our ODC for EDC alignment tool here. Go ahead and stick that on down here at the bottom, and we are going to go ahead and go with our first washer. Darn thing. Go ahead and put some KPL on there, like so. Go ahead and throw our actual bearing on there. Blocking you guys out here, nothing. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and put our, let's go ahead and run our back spacers in there now. And we could also put in our stop pin at this point. That darn thing, I swear. It's going to be so difficult sometimes. And this just kind of keeps your pivot and everything lined up in there. So now we can go ahead and throw our blade on, and see we already have one side of our washer stack on there. So we're going to go ahead and throw him on there just like so. And we got to be a little tricky with it here. And then we're going to go ahead and throw some more KPL right here on this one. Like I said, I can be doing this completely opposite of how you should be doing it, but for me this worked on the time before when I just put this together. So this is actually the 3rd take. So don't ever be discouraged about taking your stuff apart. There's always a way to figure it back out. You could also watch some, if you're really stuck, then you can go ahead and watch some other videos from other people and really get it going. At least that's what I did. I kind of had to hit the pause button and just figure out what in the heck was actually going on here. Alright, so there we go. We got the main gist of it going on. And now we are going to get our crossbar installed into the knife here, and then we'll kind of be taking shape of what we actually need to do, and we'll kind of figure out what we actually got going on here. So I want to put, of course, these are going to be they got to be one way in the knife. I guess I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, what that actually means. They got to be orientated just right, so your little nubbins go towards the inside of the liners. So we need to fish this on through, and this is definitely a little easier said than done, especially when you're looking at it kind of like this way. Oh, and right there we just lost one of our Omega springs anyway, so maybe we can just go ahead and slide the one side through just like that. Just kind of got to put tension on it. There we go. And then we're going to slide that one right in here to the hole. Sorry guys, that was kind of a crude demonstration and didn't really teach you anything on that one. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing for this one right here. We're going to go ahead and slide this on over the lock bar itself. Like so. Hopefully get in there. There it goes. Shoot. Sprung back out at me. Alright, we're going to put that one on there. Go ahead and slide that right up into position just like that. And for now, we pretty much got the bare necessities of this thing down. So we're going to go ahead and slide the back side of our scale on, just like so. And go ahead and throw the front side of our scale on. Now we're looking like a knife here. We're actually getting some rigidity back in this thing. Okay, perfect, just like that. And this is where, I guess I kind of put it in backwards, but this is where the ODC for EDC kit comes into play. Your actual pivot goes down over top of that nubbin you got there. I guess this is kind of a better example. I think I used the wrong size. So all these, there's a whole bunch of different sizes in the kit, just like that. So when you have it the correct way, you push it out and you just force the pivot right back on, and then you are good to go. But it'll still work pretty much the same way if you're quick about it. So let's go ahead and we'll push this all the way up to where it pretty much needs to go, just like so right there. And then we're going to push our pivot. And of course it works differently. Some of them have a D-shaped pivot like Benchmade's do. You can kind of see that this has a, and it's kind of hard to tell. These are 3D printed, but they do have a flat spot. But this one does not have a flat spot. The actual back side of this liner or scale is going to be the actual how it's captive. So now once we're there, we're going to pull back on that pivot on the lock bar, and it's going to close the blade right in position. So now we can get our Locktite out, and we're going to throw some Locktite on the pivot. Sorry guys, I am all over the place tonight. Okay, so Mrs. Carryandcut doesn't feel very good tonight, so I got the kiddos down here in the basement with me. So if you guys hear some racket going on the background, I am sorry about that. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and thread this thing on down. We're just going to snug it up for now. We ain't got to do nothing crazy. We're just getting it somewhat settled in there. And this is definitely a long-winded pivot screw. Okay. Alright, now we're going to be working on the actual body screws here. So we need to get our T6 back out. Go ahead and put a little bit of goo on there. Throw this one on. And say we're just tightening them, snugging them down right now, nothing crazy. And he likes the pocket clip is going to be on this side, so he wants to, let's just put the pocket clip right in here like so. Try to put a little bit of goo on there for him. Alright, gonna run them down. Nothing crazy, we'll just get them snugged down for now. Final tightening will come when we adjust our pivot and make sure our centering is all good to go on there. Alright, there's that one. Let's get this side going. A little bit of goo on there. always be careful with your T6s. I always like to start them and back them off. You can kind of hear them catch the thread, and that's when you know you're actually in business, and you can go ahead and tighten them down. So let's go ahead and get one more on there. A little more goo. And don't freak out when you see this extra hole. That is actually for the pocket clip if you're going to be running this on right hand tip up carry. Alright, so we are pretty much good there. It looks like our pivot or steering might just be a touch off. Go ahead and tighten that up some. And we'll test out the action. It will feel super snappy. And I really do like the action of this thing. And I think it's thanks to all the washer and bearing stack that they have going on there. So they have like a steel washer set up with bearings at the same time. So it's kind of crazy how they got it going on. But it really does make for a super smooth assembly. No, not assembly, not very smooth assembly. Smooth on the action. So things fall shut, flings right open. A little bit of lock. That's need to tighten this up some. A little bit of blade play. Centering is right on the money right there. At least for like the 940s and the knives like that, you know, you can kind of build them from the outside and slide your blade in. So it's just a different different way to do things, and you could definitely build it from the kind of the middle up like I just did, or the bottom up instead of sandwiching the whole knife together, then sliding the blade in there with the washers. And you could do that, I guess, technically, but the with all that washer and bearing stack, there's just so much going on that it's about impossible to keep all that stuff together when you're actually sliding the knife together. So this seemed to be the easiest way. Like I said, it took me a time or two to get it figured out, and hopefully it was a decent enough demonstration of how to actually do it. And this is my first time actually taking this knife apart. I only watched a partial video on it, so bear with me. And it definitely is flawless in the operation now. Super smooth. I think the oil helped it a little bit. Like it already had great action anyway, but it has even better action now. So make sure you guys check out the full review video I did on this thing. And it's definitely a great knife. And until next time, I sure do appreciate it. Thank you.